Hey guys, so it's Eric here. I'm currently editing the show here, as you can see, as of this recording. But during the recording, I noticed when I was editing that, like, me and Jeff went out of focus with our footage a couple times, a few times actually, more than that. But I do my best to work around it or whatnot, and I kind of make some edits here and there. This is for the video version, of course. You're not going to have that issue if you're just listening to the episode. But yeah, other than that, those are the only real issues that I had to deal with. But hope you guys enjoy the installment nonetheless. And yeah, please enjoy. Attention. The following podcast contains discussions about more graphic content than usual. So if you're watching the video version on YouTube and want us to show any of the graphic imagery from the topic in question, go watch the actual movie and or show in question. YouTube's algorithm's not going to be very happy if we show graphic images. However, if you've been listening to just the audio version, you've been warned. Have a nice day.
The following podcast contains assloads of spoilers. We here at Two Nerdskis in a Podcast are firm believers in preserving all the surprises of a genuine film viewing experience. And Bruce Willis was a ghost the whole time. Alright, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Oh my god, I smell shenanigans!
I have no idea what's going on, but I am excited.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Inconceivable!
Cowabunga.
I thought this was a party.
It's Two Nerdskis and a Podcast.
With Eric
And Jeff.
Next level!
Alright, well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Two Nerdskis and a Podcast, or the one show where two nerdskis like to come together and talk about everything pop culture and entertainment. Of course, as always, I'm Eric.
Sup?
And that's Jeff. Well, thanks guys for coming back. We are back with a brand new video episode, and we're here to talk about something in the water, if you will. So, Jeff, I'm actually going to let you go ahead and take the reins on this. What we got today, buddy?
Oh, we are going to talk about a certain little movie that came out in the summer of 2019. Movie that kind of came completely out of nowhere, and even it was barely on my radar. I just randomly caught the trailer one day, and after seeing that trailer, I just said to myself, I'm in. And goddamn, you ever see a movie that you feel like you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and then you come out of it just thinking, wow, they actually tried. Fuck yeah. And that was my experience with Crawl. One of the surprise hits of 2019. It had a very modest budget of about 10-15 million before marketing, and it almost I think it grossed like just a little over $90 million, so more than double, definitely made its money back. Yeah, this fucking little movie about alligators going after a daughter and father in a little hurricane, to say the least. If it sounds bare basic, that's because it is bare basic as fuck. And
yeah.
So Eric, what did you know about this movie before experiencing it?
So, from what I remember, I was working at a movie theater at the time that this movie came out. And I kind of remember like seeing the trailer, and I was watching it, and I was kind of just like, this is. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was completely fucking stupid. This whole concept of like, oh, alligators coming in and during a hurricane, and they're coming in the house. I remember seeing the trailer. So seeing that there's that one shot that's in the movie where Haley, the character Haley, she's locked herself in the shower as the room is flooded with water, and there's an alligator trying to get in, and I'm like, the glass is gonna break. The glass is gonna break. This is so fucking stupid. And that was about, let's see, that's 2019, it's 2020. It has been 3 years since I said that. So that was my impression at the time. I thought it was just really kind of just a dumb movie, to be honest. But seeing it now, I'm like, you know what? I mean, there's not really much to say about this. Like you said, it's really kind of just a basic, kind of just real critter, kind of like creature feature of the week kind of movie where, well, luckily it's nothing supernatural along those lines. It's really just kind of just a fun movie from just kind of start to finish. Exactly what you get. Yeah, you have the basic premise, of course. Young woman who's a swimmer needs to go retrieve her dad from under the crawl space of their old family home during a Category 5 hurricane. There are alligators, and all of a sudden chaos ensues, and it is very simple. It is a very basic plot, and you know what? They pulled it off. It's unfortunate, though, that the alligators... obviously, they couldn't use real alligators, but the CGI in this was very apparent, but they did the best they could. So, you know what? I'll give them credit for that. But yeah, that's really all I have to say on that. We can definitely get more into it, but this is very much basically my impression of it. It's fun. It's serviceable. It is what it is. And you know what? On those lines, I appreciate it for what it is. And I think that's ultimately why the movie works,
I love this movie. I love this movie so goddamn much. To me...
Well, would you like to elaborate?
To me, it's... So let's say probably one of the best examples I can think of right now. When you look at a movie at like Tremors, for example, it's a movie that takes its premise and executes it perfectly. For what it was setting out to do, it took full advantage of its crazy premise. It just fucking went for it. Didn't bullshit around. It got right to the point. Gave you pretty much what you expected, but still finding ways to be really creative with it. And that's exactly what this movie did. It takes full advantage of its crazy premise. It actually grounds it in a somewhat realistic scenario. I have no idea how realistic the behaviors of the alligators are, but in terms of making them feel like a threatening presence, I think the movie accomplished that. I like how they're while they're on land, they're slow moving and they're dragging themselves around, kind of like how a real alligator would. So it gives it that extra sense of realism right there. I love what also really caught me off guard, though, was I thought the performances were legit really fucking good. I'm blanking on the actress's name, but she did a fucking phenomenal job, I thought, because the entire movie is carried on her shoulders. Like, if her performance did not work, this movie would have nothing for you to really root for. But I think she fucking brings it. She does a lot of really well done acting with her emotions. I think the character is just it's not like the most psychologically deep character depth, but you know what? For a movie that's cutting right to the chase, but still needs to give you a somewhat manageable level of investment, it does just enough to keep you invested, to keep you watching, so that you're out of focus right there. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you you want to see these characters make it out. And her father, played by Barry Pepper, I think it does a really good job at showcasing the drama going on in their family without going insanely overboard with it. Like, it's not melodramatic. Like, it feels grounded and just enough. And what I also really appreciate is that, well, for one, I'm a fucking sucker for creature features, especially theatrically released creature features. When one comes out and there's a decent amount of money put behind it and a good level of craftsmanship, I get fucking excited for it. And what this movie I thought delivered exceptionally well was not only a very well done creature feature, but a decently well done disaster movie, which I'm also kind of a sucker for. So two subgenres that I always have a soft spot for, thrown together, and both elements work very well. So not only do you have the alligators that are relatively threatening antagonists, you have the ticking clock element added in there with the rising waters of the hurricane. And not only do they have to deal with the alligators, but they have to continue battling the elements. And what I also like is how it doesn't, for the most part, it stays confined to the crawl space, but it takes a few opportunities to venture outside in the nearby area, and you're able to see the alligators tear shit up on people who are ravaging through like the local convenience store, and so they have a little bit of fun right there. They have to get from point A to point B out in the open and try to slowly move around with all the alligators swimming around. They end up back in the house where it's completely flooded, and they have to try to maneuver around that. And it takes full advantage, like pretty much what I wanted to see out of a crazy premise like this. I thought it fucking delivered. So I think this movie is an absolute blast, and it's honestly one of my favorite creature features ever.
Well, I guess you and I kind of differ in there. I mean, I definitely don't think this movie sucks. Like, there is, as you said, there's a lot of care and effort put into it, and it shows. So, I mean, ultimately, I would say it's probably not for me, but it's definitely not a movie I would say no in terms of watching it. Let's say if I was watching it with you, or if I was watching a friend, I'd be like, yeah, sure, pop it on, let's watch it. But yeah, no, it's definitely, it's very simplistic in its design, and the idea of the twisting of both genres works. And I like the plot setup, of course. You have so you have Haley, so she's played by Kaya Scodelario, and yeah, she's really great in the role. I thought she was a really good protagonist. Yeah, she's a University of Florida swimmer. She's kind of feeling down and out after her practice, and then she gets a call from her sister that, like, hey, go check in on Dad. And so she goes to check in on Dad at his condo, but he's not there. It turns out he's got the old family home, and so she's gonna go over there to see how he's doing. She brings her dog Sugar, and I'm like, I will not lie, the entire time I'm watching this, I'm thinking, like, please tell me the dog doesn't die. Please tell me the dog doesn't die. Please tell me the dog doesn't die. We'll reveal the fate of the dog later at the end of the movie. So I mean, again, it's very basic. So she goes to the house, finds her dad in the crawl space. He's somewhat been injured, although I like it. Before she runs into the alligators, you kind of find it like, how the hell did he like get injured or whatnot? Because he hadn't been answering his phone. But yeah, because the first time I saw her like kind of lift up the shirt, and I saw like the blood and look like bite marks or claw marks, I'm like, oh, did the alligators kind of get to him already? I know he definitely got a limp, and let me tell you, like, even though it's CGI, just when he has to set his leg so he can maneuver again,
Oh yeah,
it's a little bit bone crunching, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm like, oh. Okay, but yeah, no, again, it's very basic, very simple, but again, they know how to utilize their setting, they know how to utilize their story and their budget, and it shows on screen. So yeah, no, props to it. Yeah, the characters of Haley and Dave, Kaya and Barry Pepper's characters, you kind of get a basic idea of what their family background is like. It sounds like her dad feels like he's kind of in the way of her life or whatnot, but she's like, no, I want you back in my life. And like she kind of, I guess her parents are divorced, and so she kind of blames her dad for, oh no, she doesn't blame her dad. She blames herself for getting in the way of their marriage, but no, that's not the truth. It's just, over time, after the kids, grow apart, then the parents just don't really know how to love each other anymore or whatnot. But you can definitely tell that Haley and Dave do truly care for each other as father and daughter would. And then when you first meet the alligators, you're like, holy crap, that kind of popped out of nowhere. And you're just kind of like, well, I was a little bit distracted because I was just like, okay, this is so obviously it's a modest budget movie. The CGI shows. It kind of took me out of the movie a bit, but
the CG is it's definitely inconsistent. But I think, personally, I think gators are fucking terrifying. And
yes, they are.
I think it's one of those cases where, because it primarily takes place within that crawl space, you're able to immerse yourself. Fuck this fucking autofocus. So you're able to really project yourself into the environment and the situation that they're in. And I think, once you're able to kind of put yourself in there, you think, well, shit, what would I do right there? Would I be able to keep my cool? Would I, and honestly, I don't think I would have made it. I would have been, probably would have ended up like Wade. Poor Wade.
Actually, I think his name is Wayne, but I
who the fuck cares?
Well, I mean, I'm surprised you didn't mention like any of the forgettable characters who loot the gas station across the street.
I mean, I briefly mentioned that, but yeah. So kind of going back to, well, for one, I like how they because if there was like a massive Category 5 hurricane going on, of course there's going to be a couple of fucking idiots staying back to loot. It's like, so I like how it kind of addressed that, and I like plus just like I love the shot of the Haley. So Haley's trying to get their attention, and she's shining a light through from under the house, and one of them is starting to vaguely see it, and as he's walking towards the foreground, you see his girlfriend getting fucking munched on in the background.
It's pretty brutal,
kind of blurred out, and I thought that was great. And then immediately, it cuts to I'm assuming he's like a little brother or something, and he's inside the store, and he sees the shit happening outside, and then the gator swims inside the store and eats him right there. I'm like, well, shit, an alligator just fucked up some dude in a flooded convenience store. That's kind of fantastic.
Well, okay, so I was gonna wait till later, but I'm gonna mention it right now. So later when Wayne and his partner show up, so as Wayne's looking for looking for Haley and Dave, his partner is kind of just like, I guess there's like crud on the spinner of their boat, and he's trying to clear it out. Unfortunately, he gets caught by the alligators. I love his death.
That
is my
was
favorite death in the entire movie. It is brutal. It is so obviously fucking CGI'd faked, but god damn it,
who the fuck cares? At that point, you're just like, all right, this is what I came for.
Yeah. I mean, so basically how it happens, he gets dragged down, and then he gets thrown by an alligator, and then as he's lying there, 4 alligators descend upon him. They all grab him by directions, and then my favorite part is just when the one alligator just grabs him by the head, death rolls, just spins the head till it's ripped off, and you're just like, wow, man, they went for this shit.
And I'm also so fucking glad that they kept this movie rated R, because you have the potential to make a somewhat decent creature feature PG-13. I just rewatched The Shallows with Blake Lively, and I think that's a legit solid movie. And you know, but you know that's definitely more of a I'd say that that's more of a survival premise that can stay within the confines of a PG-13 rating, but with something like this and how far more brutal and out in the open gators are with attacking things compared to sharks, you know, because when you do a shark movie, you know, you can just have someone pulled underneath the water and you can just leave the rest of the imagination.
Very simple stuff.
Yeah, so cuts down, it's easy kill and can be somewhat effective, and also don't have to go all in on the violence. But that would not work for a movie like this, and that's why I respect the shit out of it, because it just embraces exactly what it is. It gets creative. I think it gets pretty damn creative with not only its kills, but just the overall attacks. Like whenever one of the characters gets bitten, like you feel that pain, man. And
yeah, especially what happens to Dave later on towards the end of the movie, and you're like, "Fuck, Jesus!"
Oh yeah, and I also love. So not only, so it definitely has its gory moments, but I also really enjoy just the quieter moments when they're just trying to get from point A to point B, and just trying not to make a sound. And it, I think it builds tension very, very well in those moments, especially there's one moment where Haley's trying to get from point A to point B in the crawl space and just slowly inching her way around, and really effective jump scare also when she so it was like right when she was trying to grab her cell phone, and right when she grabs it, another gator pops out of nowhere, and
flashlight, right? I was thinking about that.
Yeah, and then
that one.
It attacks her, thrashes her around, and I also pretty much almost right off the bat, Haley gets fucked up. And you know, like it.
Yeah, especially her right leg, and then later she gets like bitten on the shoulder, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it really emphasizes the danger that's occurring with these alligators, but also, you know, there's the danger of the storm, and it's more or less like a background presence, but towards the climax, that's when the disaster movie elements really start to kick in, and and honestly, the effects for the actual hurricane, I think, are actually very well done, surprisingly. Also given the smaller budget, and when what the fuck was I gonna say? Shit.
Well, if I can really quickly say along those lines, since we're talking about the danger of everything, it kind of shows a little bit of pretty good character development, or just character establishment for both Haley and Dave, because we get to see that. So we see that, like, I guess Dave has like a plumbing service or whatnot, or some sort of construction service. But I think just being around her father, Haley has learned to be pretty resourceful. So, like, as soon as she knew she was bleeding pretty badly, she basically took some part of her clothing, ripped it up to make kind of like, she knew to stop the bleeding, kind of make a makeshift tourniquet. Definitely Dave, like, when he got the limp, he also he wrapped his leg around. He knew that he was going to have to, like, be quiet about it, because he knew that shit was going to hurt, or to reset it in place so it could heal later. So I like how, like, it basically causes it makes your two main characters to be resourceful in solving their problems, in this case. So I appreciate that on that front. So yeah, there's actually something also I wanted to mention too along those lines, which is kind of like shadowing in this movie. You mentioned the crawl space, obviously. So a good portion of this movie takes place in the aforementioned crawl space. I like how everything is lit. We mentioned how, like, obviously the gators are very CGI, But historically speaking, CGI, or just shadows in general, help hide a lot of the obvious, like, oh, this is fake or whatnot. And I feel like it's kind of pulled off in this way or whatnot. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, so I would say probably the night and day example. So with did you ever see Lake Placid?
So, of course, I mean, I am very much aware of Lake Placid. I have never seen it, surprisingly. I probably, well, I know that's a Stan Winston movie, right?
Yeah, so the practical croc that they built for it looks pretty damn good. It's slow moving. It's it feels like there's weight to it, and however, when it switches over to CGI, it's running around at very unrealistic speeds for the weight of that animal, and it just sucks. It makes it feel like a lifeless object. Like it really feels like they're just running away from like a glob of CGI pixels. So it ruins the threat, or it takes away the tension, I feel, because you're no longer believing that that's a creature going after them. And so I would say, yeah, it's the gators aren't as polished as they could have looked. If it had a slightly bigger budget, maybe that that wouldn't be a major point of concern. But I feel the effort was at least there to make them feel like the threatening antagonists. Because they're slow moving, they have a very menacing presence, and I like how they have that creepy hiss that gators give off. So I think the effort was definitely made to ground the gators in a real sense of realism, and I think that's definitely one of the major benefits of this movie, I feel. And I feel like any if there were lesser talent behind the camera, a lesser director, a lesser cinematographer, a lesser screenwriter, then you just have dumb as fuck characters who just make the most illogical decisions left and right. You're just waiting for the kills, just like, all right, come on, let's get this shit over with. And then when they eventually happen, maybe they'll be okay, but just nothing will probably stick out. Just there's no sense of creativity. I would say that's a good portion of Sci-Fi Channel creature features. And
Yeah.
this movie could have easily fallen into all those traps, but you have relatively smart characters played by good actors. You have a pretty tight screenplay that just tells it how it is, gets from point A to point B. It doesn't drag. I don't think there's any moment I would really take out of the movie. It gives you exactly what you expect, and it doesn't overstay its welcome at all. It's barely 90 minutes, and
Yeah.
it just leaves that right amount of intrigue to where you want to see these characters survive. So this is one of those I call perfect late night movies where you put something on, something that's easy to watch, and you don't need a tremendous amount of thought going in, but it's not insulting your intelligence. I guess I'll bring up Lake Placid again. So Lake Placid fucking sucks because
That's what I hear.
the characters are dipshits, despite having the greatest president in movie history in there.
That's Bill Pullman.
Bill motherfucking Pullman. But you have very terribly written characters with zero depth. You have a premise that does not live up to its potential in any way, shape, or form. You have very weak kills, despite having an R rating. It sells you one thing, but delivers the polar opposite experience, and honestly, like it pissed me off on my most recent watch of it, and honestly because I like I said, I grew up on creature features, and when it came to, you know, things like involving crocodiles or alligators, you know, it was either Lake Placid, because that was the only movie out that really had some money behind it at the time, or, you know, straight to video trash that I would get from Hollywood Video. So it was like, all right, well, I can get the fun trash, or I can see the one that looks a little more polished, but, you know, it's this or nothing. But now that we have movies like Crawl, or have even had other movies like Rogue from 2007, which is fan-fucking-tastic, by the way.
Isn't that that's an Australian movie about crocodiles, right?
Yep.
Okay.
See, yeah, so that movie is how you do a giant croc movie right. And actually, we should probably talk about that someday. That movie fucking slaps.
That's interesting. Okay.
So Lake Placid, you know, tried to sell you on a crazy premise, but shit the bed. This movie also sells you on a crazy premise, but takes full advantage of that premise, and it gives you, like, there's actual craftsmanship in the filmmaking. Like, it still gives you that bare bones white knuckle thriller that you expect out of it, but it also knows what it is and never really loses track of it. Like, it's not like, you know, the most intelligent screenplay ever written or anything, but
no, it's not.
like, for anyone who is interested in making a creature feature, but wants to do one quote unquote correctly, you know, there's the movies I recommend right off the bat, you know, like Jaws and Tremors would probably be my go-to in terms of, you know, crafting a solid screenplay. But
well, Jaws is really the movie that really jump-started kind of the creature feature kind of thing.
Well, yeah,
at least.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, I would not hesitate throwing Crawl into the conversation as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, am I saying that it's on the quality levels of Jaws or Tremors? Fuck no, it's not. But if you want to do a creature feature right, by, you know, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but, you know, something that knows what it is and delivers on all fronts on the creature elements, delivers on all fronts on the disaster movie elements, and it doesn't drag its feet. It doesn't
Well, what I wanted to bring up was that, like, you mentioned how, like, this movie obviously knows what it is, and, like, because obviously, so Lake Placid, obviously that's around like a kind of like a prehistoric like alligator in Lake Placid, whereas like this movie seems a little bit more realistic in the sense of, like, for that story, because I don't know if alligators really would try to kill people during a hurricane, but the basic idea is, like, you don't have like these are just like regular people. They are using all the resources they have at their disposal. The creatures don't actually behave more so like the real life creatures. Like, the alligators are behaving more like actual alligators. At least that's the sense I got from watching this. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, someone else points out otherwise or whatnot. So I mean, this feels like a more realistic scenario, and I think it works on that end. Also, like, the characters aren't like Haley and Dave. They're not obviously, as Jeff pointed out, you know, they're not like the best characters, but you know what, for the story, like, their conflict and like their characters, their development, it works. Because like Haley's basically learning to kind of overcome kind of what's been going on with her, because, well, we don't know honestly what happens after they escape from all the alligators, but you know, she's overcome. She has trouble overcoming like her own kind of shortcomings at in college, and then she's working with these issues she has with her dad, and by the end of it, she makes the finish line. She makes it so that they survive. So yeah, they do survive, obviously, but and to answer everyone's question, like, does Sugar survive, their dog? Well, I'm gonna quote the nostalgia critic here and be like, Sugar will live. Ah. Yeah, it's whatever. But no, yeah, this is a very broken record, but it's true though. This is a very, very basic story. Like, it's not something to write home about. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned like creature features like this, because you as you were mentioning like everything about this, I was thinking of like, because we talked about Deep Blue Sea, and that's a movie where so like the CGI wasn't too bad, but then I mean it was the 90s. Like I think I think the difference between something like Deep Blue Sea and Lake Placid, sure, to be fair, I haven't seen Lake Placid yet, but I've heard it's dog shit. Yeah, that's what everyone says. But the difference with that movie and something like Deep Blue Sea, and I will throw Crawl in there as well, is that they know how to use their budget more wisely. I mean, I honestly, I kind of wish Crawl had used some more practicals, especially for more close-up shots. But you know what? I'll take the wins where I can with it, because, like, honestly, in the end, it's fun. That's what it really matters. That's what it comes down to in the end. That it's just a fun time from start to finish.
And you know what? Sometimes it's okay for a movie to not be high art. It's okay to just have a movie come out, just say, hey, you want to see a movie with people trying to survive a hurricane and a bunch of alligators trying to fuck them up. Yeah? All right, cool. Here you go. And whatever crazy idea that you probably picture in your head, odds are, with that premise being pitched to you, I would say it lives up to what the common vision for a premise like that would be. And I like when something comes out, tells you exactly what it is, and then you get exactly what you expected, and in some aspects even surpassed your expectations. So yeah, when the moment so when I first saw this in 2019, I was like, holy shit, this is one of the most fun creature movies this is probably the most fun I've had at a creature feature and in the movie theater since like Piranha 3D in 2010. Like, love that fucking movie.
At least
too.
You didn't say Piranha 3DD, but
oh, I did. It's probably the worst movie I've ever seen. Jesus Christ, you just brought up a bunch of really bad memories.
I'm sorry to do that.
Fuck, movie's awful.
That's what I hear.
Try watching it. But yeah, so,
maybe drunk, but as you were saying,
though I was drunk when I watched it, it didn't help.
That sucks. Okay, as you were saying though.
But yeah, I would say, or yeah, actually, when after I initially saw it, I was like trying to shout it out, like, "Yo, I know everyone was kind of shitting on the premise of this, but this is actually pretty goddamn good." Like, and everyone, pretty much everyone that went to actually go see it came out really enjoying it. And yeah, I'm also apparently hearing rumors of a sequel.
Yeah, I read about that too, and I'm like, I don't know how the fuck that would work.
The only way you could do that, I think, is you have to feature new characters. I
would agree. I wouldn't bring back the old characters. Like, I don't know how you would do this.
And I would say the only, if you're gonna do it, then you gotta go crazier with it, because it's, if a sequel happens, like I expect it to actually be what everyone expected the first one to be, a shitty movie. But if they do something crazy with it, like off the top of my head, what if the alligators get into a mall or something? Like
A mall during like a hurricane or some shit or what?
yeah, or like something like that. Just like
That's not a bad idea.
yeah. So like if they try to up the ante and do something crazy and fun and stupid with it, then yeah, like I'm there day one. But I'm not clamoring for a sequel or anything. But because I think this movie delivers the perfect creature feature experience, or at least the perfect modern day creature feature, and you get what you pay for, and unless like if you don't like creature features, this isn't going to be the one to win you over to the genre or anything. But if you do enjoy creature features and you're able to suspend your disbelief a little bit, know what it is, and can just either embrace what it is or just pick it apart, like you can, but I don't think you'll.
It's very easy to pick apart this one, I'll tell you this much.
But I don't think you'll be impressing anyone intellectually for breaking down the problems with Crawl. So
Which there aren't. There aren't like a huge amount of problems, I would say, but that's just me.
But that's the thing. The fact that there aren't that many noticeable problems with it, I think alone is kind of an accomplishment, because this isn't a genre that garners that much respect. And so when one of them comes out that is done well and people actually turn out to go see it, I think that's fucking cool, because theatrically released creature features are not extremely common, and when when they do come out, I kind of get excited. I mean, shit, I was pumped out of my fucking mind when Anaconda's The Hunt for the Blood Orchid came out in 2004.
Wasn't that okay? Stop me if I'm wrong. Isn't that considered like a really crappy movie?
I love that movie. I think
Jesus Christ,
that movie's great.
What's the sequel I'm thinking of with David Hasselhoff?
That's the third one. So the first two were the only ones released in theaters.
Yeah, that's right. Because one of them went straight to DVD, or like aired on Sci-Fi at one point.
So made
that's how it aired.
Yeah, they made Anaconda 3 and 4 back to back that aired on Sci-Fi, and then they capped it off with Lake Placid versus Anaconda.
I was about to bring that up, and I'm like, that. How the fuck do you do that shit? Okay, that just sounds fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Okay.
The only reason I would watch that is apparently Robert Englund is in it. Like, all right, I'll watch it for Robert Englund.
Damn it! Why am I dealing with all these fucking snakes and reptiles and shit? You know what? I will say, I think one of the reasons why Crawl works effectively is because I don't know how much influence he had on this, but one of the producers of this movie is none other than fucking motherfucking Sam Raimi.
Goddamn right.
And I'm like, because like you couldn't tell honestly if you were watching it, because it's produced by him, but you couldn't tell this was produced by him. Like this had his stamp of approval on it.
Sam Raimi produces a shitload of movies.
He does.
And
I was speaking of which though, like there's an action movie. I'm so like John Woo's first movie when he came to the States was Hard Target, and I was very surprised when I found out that Sam Raimi was one of that was responsible in helping him get to the States and also producing that movie. So I'm like, the fuck?
And actually,
yeah.
And also I want to say the director of this movie, I think he actually directed Piranha 3D, if I'm remembering correctly, and he did that and the Hills Have Eyes remake from 2006, and I think both movies are very well done. ... for what they set out to do,
Right.
And so this I think his name's
Alexandra Aja, I think.
Yes, something like that.
Because
But
he's a French director, and you're right. So I'm looking at some of his credits. Yeah, so he did The Hills Have Eyes. He did Mirrors. He did Prodigy.
oh my god, I loved Mirrors when that came out.
He did Horns, which was, I think that's the movie with Daniel Radcliffe, where he
that's right.
gets the horns in it from a curse or whatnot. I'm like, I remember watching it, like that wasn't too shabby. I kind of liked Horns. That wasn't too bad. So you can definitely tell, like, if that's his caliber of work, then like obviously Crawl is definitely like you're right. He's a director that's good in making movies that know exactly what they are, and he definitely delivers with this. Because again, the premise: stuck during a hurricane in a crawl space with fucking alligators, and everything's flooding, and everything's gonna go to shit real quickly. But no, they pulled it off. It's great.
I'm also a sucker for movies that primarily take place in one location.
Well, yeah, it's a good way to save on budget. Yeah, it's kind of what they call, well, in television they call it a bottle episode, because they just save money and just use one location. I would say, I mean, this is close to being a bottle movie, just in terms of like keeping it contained to one location. Like, for example, a very good example of like keeping it contained to one location. Another movie we talked about, 12 Angry Men, because it just takes place all in that one deliberation room, aside from like a few scenes in the courtroom and whatnot. But yeah, no, because I mean, for the most part, you're stuck in the crawl space for like a good, what would you say, like 30, 45 minutes? About half the
I would say
half the runtime.
Yeah, I would say at least more than half the movie.
Yeah, at least a little bit more. And then like I would say the third act is when they escape the house, and then they're like thrusted back into the house, and now the objective is just to reach the act or the roof while the water the levee just floods everything and the alligators get inside or whatnot.
Also the scene where right before Haley she gets sucked out of the house as the water is, or like as the hurricane's going on, and she's on the verge of being swept away, and the alligators like flying right past her. Like, it was giving me fucking Jumanji flashbacks.
I need to rewatch Jumanji again. That's a good movie.
Yeah, the part where they're the crocodile's in the house while it's over flooding, and then someone opens the front door and everything just comes flooding out, and the alligator or the crocodile goes with them. Yeah, like the moment that happened, pretty much that very similar setup in Crawl. And I was like,
God, that house in Jumanji just like went to shit. That house took so much like damage or whatnot. Like, it was literally like a full blown jungle by the end of that movie. I know. You know what? I'll say this much. Like, we mentioned it earlier. Like, the movie definitely deserves its R rating. In terms of like its kills, like they do not hold back on like how ferocious the gators are and like killing their victims. Like, for example, like the last big bloody moment is so Dave, as he rescues his dog, his right arm is like ripped off from him by an alligator, and like that's just a really brutal moment, just seeing kind of like the bone kind of like ripping out a socket from like the elbow or whatnot, as the alligator just tugs and rips it away. And then like what's also kind of brutal is just like, I don't know, like that should send, realistically speaking, that should send you into shock like immediately. I don't know if Dave was just high on adrenaline at that point, as he's able to tourniquet his own fucking arm. Yeah, this movie is exactly what it is. But the last thing I wanted to mention about this was just like, so you know how like the movie ends, like they get up to the top of the roof after narrowly escaping all the alligators. By the way, there is that one last scene I like, where like Haley kind of like, she's caught in a death roll by an alligator, and she just takes the flare and just sticks it in the alligator's eye.
Great.
That was a good moment. But like, no, they're on the top of the roof, and I love how like I love how like uh, Haley just takes the flare and just raises it up, as like it just ends with that shot of her just like looking back at her dad smiling as the helicopter arrives. I would love if like right as she's smiling, like an alligator just jumps up and like freeze frames right at her face, and then cut to credits.
One of my
that would have been an amazing ending.
So yeah, one of my favorite bad movies is Crocodile 2, and
I've never heard that one.
Well, it's worth seeing, pretty much only because Martin Cove is in it, and so there's a scene towards the end where his character kills the main antagonist, and then he's flying this chopper, comes back to rescue the main characters, and then out of fucking nowhere, giant crocodile comes out of the water and pulls the helicopter down into the water. It's so stupid, but it's great. And
great.
So during the last few moments of Crawl, I'm like, this movie will be a flawless 10 out of 10 if they pull something like that. But unfortunately, they didn't.
It did happen.
Going back a little bit, I do like when Haley's on her way over to her dad's. She passes a sign that just says "Alligator Farm," and so it's like, okay, so it
reminds me of the goddamn poster of the movie.
Well, it's so at least like the movie, sets up for, okay, there's an alligator farm nearby. They got out and they went up, through the pipes and or through the storm drains or whatever. So it's like, okay, like it. So like, yeah, I guess we'll start to wrap this one up. But yeah, my here, I'll let you give your closing thoughts.
Well, here's my closing thoughts. Danger. Alligators are common in this area. They can be dangerous. They are known to stalk their prey. They will hunt you. And when they do, they'll probably attack you during a giant fucking hurricane. And the end results will be satisfying. Obviously, in all seriousness though now, Crawl probably isn't going to be for everyone just because, a lot of people are going to be like, this is so fucking stupid. But that's kind of the point. It's just a fun time from start to finish. I mean, like, I probably will watch this again, just so I can kind of like not distract myself, because like as I was watching the movie, I had fucking buffering issues. I was like, God damn it, okay. But no, I mean, like, I'll probably have to pay a little bit more attention just so I can just really kind of like be more engaged with it. But yeah, no, Crawl is exactly what it is, and you know what, I'm okay with it. It's fun. I probably wouldn't mind watching it with friends again, but yeah, no, that's how I feel about it. What do you think, sir?
Hell yeah. Well, I dug the shit out of this movie.
Of course you did.
As someone who just loves a good old fashioned creature feature, this gave me exactly what I wanted out of it. It embraced its crazy premise. The characters, for the most part, make smart, logical decisions. They're likable enough. They're well acted. It does the creature elements very well. It plays with its environment very well. It really does the disaster elements very well. It's just like the director, most of the director's filmography. This guy just really knows how to essentially deliver or like reach the greatest potential of what may seem like a bare basic premise. And I thought he did that very well in The Hills Have Eyes and Piranha. And I thought he brought that effort effortlessly into Crawl. And whether or not they do make a sequel, I don't fucking know, but whatever. But as far as standalone creature features, I think this is one of the best out there, especially in recent years. So I highly recommend it. It's easy 90 minutes. It won't insult your intelligence. It'll give you a decent amount of creative thrills, some really kick-ass kills. It'll deliver on the carnage. If you like these kind of movies, you can't go wrong with this one. I would definitely recommend it.
Well, there you go with that answer. Well, it's funny because so the last thing I should probably mention, as we're speaking, as of this recording, Idris Elba's movie Beast just came out, which is a lion movie that takes place in the safari. I mean, I've heard kind of mixed things about the movie. Or whatnot, like people are kind of mixed on the movie or whatnot, but I mean, obviously I hear Idris Elba's good. I mean, like, but that's another movie where it's like it's a man-eating lion trying to hunt down Idris Elba and his family. It's exactly what it is. So like, hey, you know what? There's obviously a market for like creature feature of the week movies. So yeah. So
did you ever see a Ghost in the Darkness? I think is what it's called. The one with Michael Douglas.
I can't say I've heard of that one.
Yeah, with Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer.
Well, if it's got Val Kilmer, not to say I wouldn't watch it with Michael Douglas, but like, but Val Kilmer's the shit. But yeah, no, I've never heard of this one.
Yeah, so it's so it takes place in like the 1910s, I believe, and
really early on.
yeah, so it's so it follows like the construction of this railroad in Africa, I believe, and Val Kilmer is one of the guys responsible for the construction, but the construction stops because there's a ton of people getting killed by lions, and
okay.
So it's yeah.
So basically, it's kind of like the plot of Tremors 4, except it's with real animals.
Yeah, Tremors 4 with lions. Fuck yeah, I like that.
I'm so surprised it came up with that callback. But yeah, when you're describing the plot, I'm like, this sounds exactly like Tremors 4. Oh shit, dude.
But yeah,
man.
So I'm as someone who's just a sucker for the animal attack genre, I think this is one of the better ones, one of the better crafted out there. And yeah, so I'd say in terms of like the go-to creature features I would recommend, Jaws, Tremors, Crawl. I would definitely recommend Crawl. Something like Deep Blue Sea,
which we have reviewed. So check out that episode.
Also check out that movie.
Installment.
Also check out that movie. Deep Blue Sea fucking slaps.
Don't check out the sequels, but whatever.
No, don't do that.
But before you watch those movies, check out Crawl.
Oh yeah, check
Killer Alligators, and well, alligators are killers anyway, but alligators and hurricane, good mix. Oh yeah. All right, well, thanks guys for joining this. For this, actually, believe it or not, Jeff, this is our 40th installment.
Oh shit!
And we've only been back. And we only just came back recently, so yeah. So here's to the next 10. Definitely gonna have to plan out the 50th somehow. We'll do some sort of fun thing with that. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us here for this installment. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. If you have any suggestions, any comments you want to leave us, like on any of our videos, just leave a comment. Let us know. Ring that bell button or whatever the fuck. And of course, follow us on the Instagram page at TNAAPcast, TNAAPcast. And of course, we're also on Spotify and Apple. But yeah, that's where we're at. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this fine installment of the show. So my parting message to you guys: if you're gonna be in a hurricane, don't let it be in a crawl space. There might be alligators in there. You better get the fuck out of there, out of Dodge. That's my advice to you. So
my advice: go and skip the Sharknadoes and just go for the hurricanes and alligators. It's a better.
Trust me, there's better CGI in this movie. They know actually what the fuck they're doing in this movie.
It's a better combination.
It is indeed. So, all right, folks. In the meantime, this has been Eric.
Later.
Beautiful Jeff. And stay shiny, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
Drop
Next level.